Aloha, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to another special bonus episode of the Moana Nui podcast. My name is Moana, and I'm your host today, and I'm so excited to have this amazingly talented special guest here with us on the Moana Nui podcast. Now, Afua Richardson, if you guys don't know her yet, what rock have you been hiding under? But if you don't know her yet, you are going to want to know her. Afua Richardson is an African Indigenous American comic book artist and illustrator, best known for her work on the Eisner award-winning series Black Panther, World of Wakanda. And if you're not familiar with the Eisner Award, it is one of the most prestigious awards you can get for comics. So that is quite an honor. And if you are a fan of HBO's series Lovecraft Country, Afua played an amazing role in that show, which is one of my favorite shows on TV. And I'm just excited that I get to talk to her a little bit about the show and her journey. So in addition to that, I also have a good friend of mine. You are getting a two-hitter today. We got Michael Watson from Chat and Draw. And he is going to be on with us tonight as my special co-host. And we're doing something really special for our backers. So if you guys don't know, Afua has a Kickstarter on right now, as we do. We're closing tomorrow, and Afua still has some days to go. So if you back both of our campaigns, you'll get to see and have what Mike will be drawing for us tonight. So without further ado, let me bring them both on. All right. What's up, Mike? Hi, Afua. Thank you so much for your time and for coming on the show. This is like the highlight of my week that I've been looking forward to. And I'm just so honored to be able to just share a little bit of space with you.
Oh, likewise. Congratulations on your Kickstarter.
Oh, thank you so much.
Proud backer. Yes.
Yes, you are. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mike, you want to introduce yourself real quick? He's on mute.
You have unmuted. You are silenced. Unmute yourself, darling. Let the world hear you. There you are.
Uh-oh, we got background. Okay. Get yourself right, and you let me know, and I'll bring you back up. All righty, so we'll get started. Let's see, Mike, can you hear? Are you good now?
Yep. What's up?
There you go.
Sorry, trying to do something different so we can get all the screens up here. As my wonderful sis introduced, I am Mike Watson and very happy to be here. Super excited. I'm gonna try to do my thing on the show. No pressure at all, though. So,
Chat and Draw and Moana Nui and Aquarius Book of Mer. What other Indigenous excellence can you expect today?
Right? It's just all in one place. The tidal wave. Awesome that's happening right now.
Yes, I love it. I love these collaboration opportunities. It's so much fun for me to be able to connect. Like not being able to be at conventions is a bummer for a lot of us because that's how we spread our projects. But it's been amazing to be able to like connect more with creators because usually we don't have time to talk to each other and get to know each other. And so I'm really excited to do this.
At conventions. I'm like, man, all of my friends are at conventions. I have to stage these. They feel unusual because it's like, come meet me at my house. There will be food. Distance yourselves. Like, why is it weird to have a party now? Oh goodness.
That's right. Oh, we have an online party here.
Right?
Yes. Whoop, whoop. All right. So we'll get started. Where where did you grow up and how did you get your start in comics?
I was born in New York City, and I loved comics ever since I was 9 years old. I had more comics in my closet than I did clothes, which is really if the same were true now, I'd need a very big place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved comics, and I was always, drawing little versions of my own in a sketchbook. But I was a musician. Um, I went to LaGuardia for the Performing Arts, did an undergrad at Juilliard, but I was always carrying a sketchbook with me. And I think when I was a teenager, I started going to comic conventions, especially when I realized that my favorite creators and the writers and the editors and the people who did all the hiring were at these shows, and you could just talk to them. So, of course, I was terribly shy. And so I'm just standing there like a weirdo, holding on to my sketchbook, looking at my favorite creators, and they were gracious enough to say, "Hello, is that a sketchbook you have in your hands there?" And a lot of them took the time to look through my work, and they said, "Well, you're really good. Why don't you work on perspective or study a little bit more anatomy?" And they gave me some really, really great tips and pointers. And I started building a website. And in, I want to say 2003, I got my first Marvel cover, and the rest was kind of history. I was doing all these other odd jobs. I was a voice actor and a background singer and a flute player, and I just doing everything that I could with my artwork while I had a desk job or a bartending job, just something that was flexible. And then I went to San Diego Comic Con in 2006 or 7, and I met Mark Silvestri, and I walk up to him, and I buy a book and have him sign it, and I hand him a little postcard with my artwork on it, and a place he can contact me. And he actually recognized one of my pieces because I plastered it all over the internet. I'd hope so. And maybe 6 months later, I got asked to do my first Top Cow book, with Image Comics, called Genius, and the rest was history.
That is so cool. I didn't know that you did the Top Cow book. What was Genius about?
Genius was about a 17-year-old tactical genius that was born in South Central in the hood. It was almost like her brilliance for strategy and wartime strategy was lost on anticipating the moves of football players in the street. And she started to realize the patterns of her neighborhood, the cyclical nature of public school to prison, the gangs that were fighting against each other and just kind of being cannon fodder for the police, and saying, "Listen, okay, I know we have all of these rivalries, and we're injured, and we're trying to find safety and stability, or just family, however we can, and power
Mm-hmm.
through these various means. But at the same time, we're condemning ourselves, and we're fighting each other when we're not the enemy." So
Right.
she starts dismantling the gangs, forming a citizens militia, and taking over these different blocks in South Central. Strangely enough, the book was released maybe a week or so, maybe even 5 days before all of the riots and the events that occurred in Ferguson, Missouri. So it was really,
Oh,
really close. And so people thought, when they read the book and they saw tanks rolling on US soil, that I just took things from the headlines and put it on my pages. And I'm like, wow, it's really sad that this is relevant, but I'm glad that this can open up a larger conversation through fiction. And after that, I started doing a lot of cover work. Captain Marvel, Totally Awesome Hulk, X-Men 92, All-Star Batman, um, just all the projects that I loved and the characters that I nerded out over as a kid. I was asked to draw them. I'm like, really? For money? That's amazing. um yeah, and so I've been doing this for about 15 years now, and I've learned a lot. I've definitely learned a great deal, and that's why I'm so excited to be working on Aquarius, the Book of Mer, which is my first creator-owned since I got started.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've seen so many wonderful writers and their scripts, and I've read so many comics that I feel like I'm at a place now where I can say, okay, I can give and be my best self for this book.
Yeah.
And it's a modern retelling of mermaid myths and legends from all over the world. And I've it's just been so enjoyable reading and researching, and then just talking to people who are from the places that I'm writing these legends about. And um, there were some stories I'd never even heard of, some places I'd never heard of. This world is large and small at the same time,
Yeah.
and every place has their stories and is touched by water in different ways. I mean, we're mainly water, so that kind of makes us all kin.
Yes, and I love that because when I somebody had shared that you had a project going on, and I was like, oh, like I need to check this out because I love Afua's work. And then I was listening to your video, and you were talking about the ocean and how it connects all of us, and it's so easy to find division, but the ocean unites us. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm trying to do with Moana Nui. Like, Moana Nui means the vast oceans that connects us. So I was like, okay, see, me and Afua, like, we need to talk because like this is my sis right here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can you tell us like about like what was your like one of the favorite cultures or mermaids that you incorporated into your project?
Oh gosh, it's so hard to pick a favorite because each one is just so fascinating. Um, there's one, the first legend that I'm approaching so far is the ads in South Africa, which is kind of like my villain in this particular issue. She's a blood-sucking water firefly that gets into people who are envious and jealous. So she can,
Ooh.
Okay.
Right?
Like I'm in this whole sketch, and then all of a sudden, blood sucking firefly.
I've never heard of this before. I was just like, what the? No. Like when I read about it, I was just like, oh, but there weren't a lot of photos or a lot of illustrations for it. So I was like, ooh, that means that I might have liberty to reimagine her. So I've given her this lion's mane of like sea urchin quills and a lamprey mouth and like the tail of a stingray, and I've just made her hyper predator. And I was like,
this is awesome. You just named like 3 or 4 of my favorite animals. Hold on, I need a minute.
I want a monster. I want like a real, like, nature is warning you with the neon signs on her body that don't trespass. And then there's the Sabawa Ilnu from the Micmac in Nova Scotia.
Oh.
Their name translates into water-dwelling people or halfway people. And the legend is that many years ago, when it even corresponds with the end of the last ice age, or the end of the Younger Dryas, which was a particular period in time where there was just a warming and then a freezing over and then a warming again, some 13,000 years ago. But essentially, these people lived close to the shore and what would be now below sea level. And then a giant flood came and they were transformed. And now they are people who can live in and outside of the water. And that to me sounded like a frog. or something amphibious, something that can live within both worlds. So I've combined the pre-exposure Micmac or the Linuk to an albino frog.
Oh,
Okay.
So deep below the water, they're not getting any sunlight. So they have all of these like human-esque features, but they're frog-like also. And they're very tricky. They like to play with people and cap over canoes. And they'll leave you alone if you give them some tobacco or a knife. But if you disrespect them, they will send a storm.
yes.
Tobacco or a knife, you say?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry. I just got to figure, how did we get to that be the thing that they want?
I mean, it's so interesting, all of these stories. Like in 2012, in Zimbabwe, there was a dam being excavated. They were building a dam.
Mm-hmm.
And the workers came rushing out from the site saying, we are not going back down there. There's an Injuzu. An Injuzu is a mermaid type creature, but not a pretty one.
Okay.
And of course, the supervisors and everyone are just like, what?
Right.
Like, we've got a contract. And okay, we will hire somebody else. So they interviewed a bunch of other people. Do you believe in Injuzu? In what? No, I don't believe it. Okay, what? You asking me if I believe in Santa Claus too? So they go down there and they come running out. And they're like, listen, I don't know what that is, but I'm not going back. I think I believe in Injuzu now. And so then they hire white workers who are not from the area, who have never even heard of Injuzu. They go down there and they come back and they say, you've got some kind of something down there. And yeah, good luck with that. And so the Minister of Water has to create a beer to satisfy whatever that thing is.
Beer.
I'm so serious. You can Google it right now. Injuzu, Njuzu, and you will find in Zimbabwe, people have been attacked. Some people have reported they were late to work and got their front teeth knocked out because Injuzu sent a water tornado. I wish I were alive.
This is awesome.
I'm just blown away by the thing that they want. It's
Right.
random.
So random. So
Like-
that's what I like about it. It's so bizarre. So I'm going to try to make it make sense because there's no explanation. And of course, I'll, give credit to where the actual story is from and where I'm drawing it from so people can look and research on their own. Because as I'm discovering it, just like wait, they want what? They do what?
Do you know how messed up that scary movie is? How do we beat the creature?
Right.
I have no idea. And you're running past like a 6-pack of beer in every scene, and like that's the thing. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's so interesting what each of these things want. And my main character Astara sees one of these things in real life and she doesn't know what it wants and she doesn't care. She just wants to get rid of it. But what it actually does want is something very fascinating. So yeah, you'll find that out.
Yes, I'm so excited. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because like, when I heard you were doing the concept of mermaids, I was like, man, I haven't thought about mermaids since The Little Mermaid, when I was small and Disney was doing it. And, people always say it was like this fictitious thing. But then like I go down and like your project sent me on the research, down the research hole. Mike knows me for this.
That's what she do.
And I'm like, I find all these like YouTube videos of like, they're blurry, like some of them, but like clearly there are like water creatures that, and I'm just like, what? And then I'm going down the Twitter hole and I'm like, okay, I need to stop. I need to just stop. But I find it so fascinating. So I'm so glad that you're exploring this. Because it's another just such a unique way for us to learn about different cultures and areas of the world too.
Yeah. I mean, it's been so much fun to speak to people. There's a gal who's from a small town in England who I met at a convention, and she was telling me about growing up in her town and just the legend of this giant water dragon that came, barreling towards her town and was beaten by a baker.
Was that what
just throw really hard biscuits at it? Like how did that but there were also Coast Guard reports of a man who poor thing. You could tell in the report he was very he knew what his report sounded like, and he was like, I have to report what it is that I saw. And what I saw was some kind of creature that was the size of a bus, whose eye was the size of a beach ball. And it looked at me and it growled and it turned around and slithered away when I pointed the torch at it. When you pointed his flashlight at it.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't know what it was. It was huge, and it just happened to be on that strip of land that has this legend about a water dragon. And then she herself grew up in a fishing family. So if you can imagine a strip of land that is it's all rock.
Yeah.
It's jutting out from the beach that is maybe 30 feet wide and goes out for a couple of miles.
Mm-hmm.
So she's out in the ocean with a little knife, husking oysters and clams and watching people get knocked off into the ocean. And she's cold and hovering. And she's like, I hate seafood. I hate fish. I hate meat. And I just thought, wow, how fascinating. What an interesting life. I'd been running into people from New Orleans, people from Haiti, even stories in Japan.
Yeah.
Where there was a story about a 900-year-old nun who accidentally ate mermaid meat and slowed down the aging process.
Huh.
Yeah.
You said that, where was that at?
That's in Japan, the Yaobikuni.
Okay, I'm not a big seafood person, but that might be something I want to try out.
It did turn her hair white, however. So if you're cool with being a silver fox, then
I'm already getting the gray. Storm looks real good with the white hair.
Right.
Stark white. You can rock it.
Yeah, you got the melanin. It looks good. Melanin rocks everything. So hey.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rock with that. Moana, if you want to share my screen real quick, I can show you progress.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, you gave me. All right, she gave me.
Okay.
You got to pick it.
Oh, that looks dope.
Cool.
Ooh, big hair. Big hair, don't care.
Yes. I love it. Very cool angle.
Yeah, I like it too. See, I like when Mike draws because he captures the body size that you don't typically see.
Yeah.
Showing love to the thick girl.
I'm married to a thick one, so I mean,
yeah, that's right.
I gotta keep it real, man. I gotta keep it real.
Yeah, that looks really good. Ooh, I can't wait till it's done. Come on, y'all. You need to back these Kickstarters. What? That's so exciting.
Now I want to draw. I was like, I want to draw too.
Well, you can. Go ahead, girl.
Hey, it's your world.
Yes, this is your show. You can do whatever you want. I'm sure. Yeah, the piece would love it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so speaking about your drawings, guys, like she has some amazing art in her campaign. You definitely need to check it out. She has You can get the book, which is being published by Image. There's like sticker swag. She has this beautiful canvas art. And if you need a special event, Afua has got you. She's got a special performance where she will come and rock it out. Speaking of which, okay, let's get back to the music side. Guys, okay, Afua, tell us about the songs that you're doing for this campaign and who you have with you on your collaboration team, because there's somebody really special in there.
Oh man, I am so excited. Before doing comics, as I've mentioned, I was a musician and I played flute for 20 years and I sang background and did, session vocals and things like that. And I got to perform with I got to open for Parliament Funkadelic and perform with Sheila E. and open for Outkast and John Legend and Raphael Sadiq. I said Alicia Keys already. And
you can say it again. It's okay.
I know.
Incredible. Like, she's just so down to earth and warm, and like you feel it in her music, and you hear, you're just like, yes. Her voice is like a blanket. But for this project, I'm going to have music sort of be like an additional storytelling prompt. So in some instances, the lyrics will be the narration. For the audiobook, of course, I'll have music behind it, but in some instances, there won't be any dialogue, and it'll just be the song and you reading the comic. And one of the songs, I am happy to say, will feature Daryl from Run DMC, who is a big comic fan. If you don't know, he makes comics. DMC also stands for Daryl Makes Comics.
Yeah.
Shout
out to the homie Daryl.
Right.
And the other two amazing musicians are Mike Smith and Paul Richie, who you may not know, but they have been responsible for so many different artists and so many different productions. And I think they're working on something for Run the Jewels, and they've worked with Remy Zero, and just their list of artists that they've worked with are like, it's like a grocery list. And I'm like, wow, why do you guys want to work with me? That's crazy. You guys can work with anybody. They worked on Frank Ocean's album, and these are songs that are really from my heart, and just I wrote them throughout the last year. Just, oh man, with everything that was going on, it really evoked a lot of feelings and emotions that I think maybe I walled off, and I just kept myself too busy to even really analyze, but with nothing to do but sit inside. It gave me a lot of time to, really get back into the things that I was neglecting, and one of which was my music. And so I'm really happy to bring that to this, since I've kind of left it alone for so many years. I was in a band maybe up until about 5 years ago or so, but this feels like it's so much more of me, and I'm super excited. And I'm also terrified, but I'm super excited.
I'm a little bit curious, and not to backtrack any though, but can you tell us what was your moment of power? Like the moment you got your superpower for arts and comics, like what was that thing that kickstarted it for you?
Ooh, oh man. I have to think. I don't know. Each project was a milestone.
Like when you look back and just say, like, that's what motivated me, and like I knew at that moment this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Like this was it.
Wow. Did I ever have that moment? Just kidding. I don't know. I growing up, I was a very shy person, and I didn't trust what I thought or felt, but I trusted what I made. And I would always carry around a sketchbook with me. And even if I lost it, even if something happened to the book, I felt like no matter how many times I'd been knocked down, or there was one point in my life I was homeless,
Oh
And
wow.
I was pretty young to be sleeping on strangers' couches, but um, I always had my book with me, or a book with me, or if I didn't have one, I would make one, and that's kind of what kept me going. It was it was one of those kinds of things that would help me rewrite my mind. So
Mm,
Mm.
I wasn't a homeless person. I'm an artist.
right.
Okay. Okay.
I love that. Just like
Mm,
the resiliency and how art like saves people from difficult situations. I've heard that as a trend, like as I've been at
mm,
home, right? And just kind of digging into people's stories. And like I had my friend DJ on for the season 1, and he had got into a really bad accident, and
mm.
he was immobilized for months. And
Wow.
before that accident, he had given up on comics, his art, because he didn't think that he could do it. But during that time is when he came out with his series, and he started
Wow.
his own studio. Um, but yeah, so like, I feel like even though now is a very difficult time, there's so much beautiful art, and the community is just like hard at work right now. I absolutely love what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I feel like it's usually the fire that sculpts the iron.
Mm.
Hmm.
It when you think about those really difficult times that people faced and the music that soundtracked it, you heard the pain, you
Mm,
heard the struggle, and you saw people taking the things that they were experiencing and converting them into uh, something constructive and something that captured it and took it out of their chest and stopped it from rattling around and made it into something beautiful and something that someone could relate to and also carried them through. You think about civil rights movements, you think about revolutions and the songs that
mhm.
carried it along and represented these movements. And then it gives you a glimpse into the mindset of the people at the time.
Right.
Same thing with art and illustration. It's a time capsule of emotion as they funnel what's going on into their works.
Yeah, definitely. That's so beautiful. Um, so like being a Black woman in comics, that's, it's not something that you see all the time. How do you feel like that how is that changing over time? Do you think it's getting better? What are your thoughts?
Definitely. I mean, it's when I entered comics, or when I first started going to comic conventions, I was surprised to see that there were a lot more Black folks and there were a lot more women and minorities there than I thought. I
Hmm.
went to New York Comic Con and uh, gosh, I must have been, mm, I might have been 18 and, or maybe in my early 20s, I don't know. But I ran into Karan Grant. I
Oh.
ran into Spencer Green. I saw Aletha Martinez, and she was inking Iron Man.
Mm,
She was doing, backgrounds for Joe Quesada, former CEO of Marvel. I
right.
mean, there she was. She's from Honduras. She was the first Black woman who I saw sitting behind a table, and I'm like, oh, there, there she is. She's right there. Just regular job. Like, this is her job. There is no other job. It's just there. And then I saw Gail Simone, and she's writing comics. And there's Joyce Chen, and Celia Kyle, and Louis Small Jr. And I was like, oh my god. There's John Romita Jr. and he's Latino, and I'm like, wait, you know what? Everybody here is, getting hired.
Hmm.
It's difficult because, at the time there wasn't much of a uh, comics went through its rises and falls. It wasn't always, oh, cool, I get to draw Spider-Man, and that means I get Spider-Man movie money. No,
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
Let them know. Let them know.
definitely not. I would speak to Neil Adams, and Neil Adams is notorious for being very what's a nice way to say grumpy? But he's just seen it all, and
Yeah.
he has been very like it's that same grumpy attitude that he
He's
brought.
seasoned.
He does. He
He's
brought.
seasoned.
He's very seasoned, and he also was grumpy enough to be like, hey, we deserve, and this was back in the day when Jack Kirby was still alive, we deserve $150 a page, and according to copyright law, Marvel and DC and all of these places are buying the right to publish this, not the rights to your originals. We are supposed to keep those. And when they laughed at him, he found some small company that would do it, and he took all of these artists with him until Marvel followed suit. So that grumpy attitude, made the industry a lot of what it is today. And I would speak to him when I was just getting into drawing comics, and my page rate was low because it was a gamble. I'm a new artist, and they don't know if their investment would be returned.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen my work, but it's not just your work. It's your online presence. It's your personality. It's, can they sell you and the art?
Please tell them again. Please tell them again.
Everything that you put on your social media, not that you should edit yourself, but be mindful that employers and people who are looking to hire you they know that looking at what you put online, that is associated with your work.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're cursing and hollering and doing all kinds of things, then you might be a liability for a children's book.
Right.
So you might have to either separate yourself or just be mindful that as an artist, you are a brand. And so coming from the music industry, I knew that very well. And I had a website very, very early on. It was very web 1.0, but it was there. And I had business cards and postcards instead of carrying around a big portfolio book. I was like, well, here's a postcard with the latest work of mine that I'm proud of and a way to find me. And I would put stickers all over New York. It wasn't me. And, it was a lot harder to be seen. And I think now the challenge for a lot of artists is, how do you become seen when there's so much out there to choose from?
Mm.
And my answer to that is, make what you love, because it'll show up in the work. And answer questions. Find out what's missing. How can you be of service with what it is you create? What's missing? It's kind of like I'll hear people all the time talk about representation and saying like, oh, well, I don't see enough this, I don't see enough that. Make it or support it.
Right. Say it again.
If you don't support it, there's an opportunity there. That means, it would be the same thing if it were socks. Oh, they don't make socks for people who are over 6 feet. Okay, well, get to sewing.
Right.
There's a business opportunity there. So if you don't see enough Black this, if you don't see enough Asian this, if you don't see enough white rappers, if you don't see enough, whatever it is that you want to see, be it or make it. That's it. So when I started drawing comic books, I was like, man, I came from music, but I also at one point in my life I wanted to be just for a hot second, an Olympic runner.
I can see
Okay.
it. I can see it.
I love Flojo and Chitara from the Thundercats.
That's right.
What were you? The 100, the 200, 400? Which one?
100 relay.
Okay. All right.
And high jump and long jump.
See, you in my territory now, but what you putting down in that 100? I was doing a 12 back in my day.
Very nice. Very nice. I think maybe like a 13.4.
That's what's up. Usain Bolt, where you at?
I was trying. I was a lot better at the high jump and long jump than than relay, but I did it anyway. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of explosive power then. But what I also noticed was that athletes who did different events, like were shaped differently.
Mm-hmm.
People who did the pole vault versus those who did discus, their bodies were built differently.
Yep.
Um,
Discus here.
yeah. So, there was a lot of smooth muscle because it was a lot of like muscles filled in. Their hands, were thicker. Their arms and legs were thicker also.
Mm-hmm.
And I started noticing the differences between superheroes and their activities. And I was like, well, if Wonder Woman was really lifting that car, she'd have some crazy quads.
Right. Right.
She would be a quadzilla for real. I don't care if she's an Amazon and has powers. Like all the squats, yeah, she'd have some thick old legs. So I just started drawing it. And then I guess I became known for drawing really strong women. And I'm just drawing what I see.
That's right.
I'm drawing what I know. I live in New York City where there's a rainbow of possibility here, but I see all kinds of people. And I just think that that's missing in my favorite books. But that's okay, because I have a sketchbook and I can make my own. I'll say it all the time. Don't get mad. Get creative. Get to work.
Yep. And I'm excited because the sketchbooks are in the Kickstarter, y'all. So,
Yes. All
can-
of my work for the past 5 years, including all of the sketches and comics and panels and pages from Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country. Yes, let's talk about
Lovecraft. Great segue. Can we big fan of the show, but I would love to know like how much did you work on the show? I know the comic book was in there with your art being featured and stuff. Was there anything else that you specifically worked on?
Let's see. I worked on anything that Diana Freeman sketched. So from the little sketches in the first episode, when she's sketching out Orithia Blue, all the comics that were on the table, Panther Man, which when you stop and think about it, Orithia is her mom, but Panther Man is her dad. Going out to the jungle, going out into dangerous territory, getting information and bringing it back for motorists for the Green Book.
Okay. Man, look at that. 6 months later, I'm still learning stuff about that show. That's great.
And oh my God, everything about the show was just so handcrafted. I mean, the underground tunnels, those were built.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Those were built on a slant so that the further down they went, the higher the water was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they made a maze that the camera crew could follow through and then walk above and then get shots there too.
I love movie magic.
I mean, they even, that part where they're walking across the beams, they built an actual beam. It was 20 feet off the ground and not 100, but still 20 feet off the ground.
Right.
But as far as my participation, I did all of these comics, all of the atlas drawings, so all of the drawings that were on the map, as well as Hippolyta's travel comic. That, and it's unfortunate we didn't have enough time because we got some dates mixed up, but that was supposed to be a full comic. In addition to Hippolyta giving me an awesome shout out. Thank you to Misha Green and to JP Jones, who is the Misha, of course, is the executive producer, and JP Jones is the prop master. And a prop master is a person who makes everything that isn't wardrobe that the actor touches. So
okay.
He made the orrery, that golden thing that spins around.
No.
He made Hippolyta's sword during the battle. He even made Dee's notebooks. So he got the pages printed, hand hole punched the edges of the book, and he made lots of them so we could have lots of sheets of paper to look like they came out of a notebook, were ripped out, and comics were made on top of them. So everything was just so handcrafted. Each of those cars, there were like 6 of them because some had to be flipped over and exploded. Some had to be set on fire. Some had to have a sugar jump on top of them. As far as, additional work on the show, I gave Hippolyta her hairstyle.
Yeah.
Wow, all right.
Because we were deciding on like an afro or like the Mr. Glass kind of half afro where it's a cutout on the side, or a little curly kind of like boop boopy doop hairstyle. And I was like, well, why don't we make her hair blue? How about we give her the Betty Rubble? And that's what we settled on. Plus, it would be kind of difficult to put an afro in a bubble. Maybe.
Yeah.
A big one anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Look,
But yeah.
when a woman speaks about hair, I've learned to listen. I've had an artist come on my book, me and my boy James, for Emerald Quest. We designed all these cool character women, and we had all this wild hair, and it was her turn to draw the book, and she called me and was like, Mike, can I touch the hair, please? I was like, what's wrong with the hair? Me and James looked at tons of reference of all these different hairstyles. She said, just look, just let me touch the hair. She touched the hair, and I ain't got no complaints at all. She touched that damn hair.
Ladies know some help.
That's what's up. I love it.
No, I understand. I'm actually I'm trying to pull up some of the work. I'll get all that together while we move on. But I'll open those up so we can take a look. But yeah, that was amazing. They filmed it here in Georgia, and it was 15 minutes from my house. So I got to work on set, and I got to see all of the behind the scenes. And I also did the charcoal scribbles when Dee couldn't speak about Topsy and Bopsy. So she didn't know what was going to happen to her. And because Lancaster put a spell on her, she wasn't able to speak about it. Remember, he had someone in his closet, and he had the opposite, dead men talk. So he can get people to talk, or he can get people to shut up. So anytime Dee tried to talk about it, she couldn't express what it was that she saw. And so she drew it.
Mm-hmm.
So did they actually use your hand for that, or did you pre-draw it?
I pre-drew them, and then I also worked with Jada Harris, who is Dee, and we went over how I created them so that when it touched her hands and she had to draw on top of these things, or she was drawing on top of the newspaper when her friend was killed, it would look believable. And we had a couple of art lessons, and she's a fast study. I was so proud.
That's what's up. I always wondered how they did that in movies, because I was always looking like, you ain't drawing that, man. Who's that artist? Who's the real hand there?
Yeah, the instructions were make it look like a talented teenager, but make it look cool. Make it cool. I was like, bam, copy that.
So were you there when they were filming the Topsy and Bopsy episode?
I wasn't there, but I did get to see the screen test.
Oh,
it
nice.
was terrifying. I was like, nope. That's a whole lot of no.
Yeah.
I stayed up really late that night.
I'll tell you how good Lovecraft is, because I'm a straight punk. I don't do horror or anything. And oh yes, my wife's got to hold me. I've got a Nerf gun with us.
Sometimes you see some scary things and it's too much.
Yeah, but I watched every single episode of Lovecraft and was upset at the same time, because I was like, there's no safe zone. They're not safe in the daytime. They're not safe in the nighttime. I get no rest.
Nope. Oh my gosh, after that episode in the basement with the exorcism and
Yes.
the baby head. I was like,
Yeah.
I need water. I need water. I was just I just kind of sat back. And I was glad. I was glad that even though I got to work on a lot of the set, I didn't. There was no spoilers for me.
Oh, okay.
I knew that Uncle George was going to die, but I didn't quite know how.
Right.
There were a couple of scenes that were removed, and there were some decisions and things made and changed, and so I was asked to draw Uncle George being shot by a police officer. And maybe that was Dee's way of dealing with the news, or at least that's what she was told. But they decided not to put that in. But yeah, with this Book of Myrrh Kickstarter, I'm including my Art of Afua Richardson zine Volume 1 and Volume 2, which will have all of these and little notes and things like that explaining what they are, the scenes and the episodes, and just some of the thoughts. Because I did have to change my style up a little bit. I couldn't just draw things regularly. So there was a bit of a challenge with that, like the urge to make something the best you possibly can. Versus like, okay, some of those considerations are not there when you're a younger artist and you don't have the dexterity yet. So a way for me to get past that and the need to refine and resketch was to just draw faster. To just draw really, really fast in a way that was like, okay, you can't fix it. Too bad. It's a line. It's there. Commit to it. And I'm like, this is so hard for us. And also, I was limited to the tools of the day. So, tools that were used in 1955.
Right.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Markers. I could use whiteout, but I had to use Prismacolor and China markers and crayons and just wax pencils and anything that Dee would find around the house. And I'm just like, yes, whiteout existed. We had to look these things up. I was like, was there a whiteout? Yes. So I could use a whiteout pen, which didn't exactly exist then, but I was like, look, it's whiteout. Okay.
We're gonna go with it.
Oh, custom beliefs. If y'all didn't look it up, somebody else was gonna look it up.
It's true.
They actually have that. Yeah.
I mean, the fan clubs are really cool because people really get into intense discussions about Lovecraft Country.
Yes.
We got into one. Yeah, so I know it happens.
Okay. Like, say what you will about Christina. She never lied.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Lied. She was always straightforward. She didn't mention that she was occasionally William. But she was always straightforward. Like, okay, you have to volunteer to be a part of this ritual. These are the things that I can do. These are the things that I can't.
Right. Oh man. So how has your life changed since Lovecraft Country?
Oh man. It's been interesting. I've been running into people that I don't know who know me. Outside of comics, because you see your convention family and you'll see folks and you're just like, hey, MomoCon, right? Or DragonCon, or C2E2 and New York Comic Con, all of these different places where you're like, wait, that's right, you had the foamy sword, and okay. And we bond over cosplay and those crazy convention moments. But now I'm seeing people like way outside of the comic book arena, and even as far as my work is concerned, I'm being opened up into a brand new world of working on television and ad campaigns, and it's put my work on such an elevated platform, and I'm super grateful to Misha and JP because not only did they have me be a part of the, you know, the production itself, even in the post production when they were doing the behind the scenes filming,
Mm-hmm.
all of the title cards in Crafting Lovecraft Country that said things like creating a legacy or this place is dangerous, just getting into each of the different aspects of the show, they had me draw and create.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and they wanted me to, and when they did ad campaigns with Vanity Fair, I had, the senior director of Condé Nast calling me up and saying, this is the first time that a client has said, okay, we have an artist. We usually have a whole bunch of artists who we pick for something, but they said, nope, we have someone who we want to work with. Thank you.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Oh, man, like they didn't have to do that at all. They didn't have to involve me. They didn't have to do any of that stuff. And they didn't even have to mention my name in the series, but they did. And when I spoke to JP, who's worked on so many different films, I mean, he worked on Logan and Ford versus Ferrari. I mean, his list of credentials is absolutely insane. He was like, man, this is the most amount of brown people on a movie production I have
Yes.
And I was like, really? That's great, right? First of many? And it was, I mean, there were folks from all walks of life, from the hairdressers to costume designers. I mean, thousands of people, many, many hands came together, and I was just glad to be a small part of it. And man, they mentioned me in their uh, they had all of this video, behind the scenes video and promotion that they created, letting people know, like from Eric Yamamoto, who did the storyboards, to JP. He has a video on YouTube. He made one for each of us featuring us, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like
Right.
it's hard to sometimes even get your name put on a comic book.
It's true.
Well, that's gotta feel really kind of awesome. I just read an article the other day where Alex Ross, phenomenal,
Oh,
legendary comic book artist,
oh my god.
who was venting and complaining online on to website that he did not get paid for the usage of any of his Kingdom Come designs from the comic book when they used it on the CW crossover,
No.
when they did stuff on the DC shows. He didn't get
Yeah.
paid for any of that. When they used Wonder Woman's armor in the new Wonder Woman movie, he
No.
designed that armor.
And that's what I mean. Like
He got no nothing.
there are artists who know how to ask for those things, and that's why you have to be about your business as an artist. A couple of years ago, I got a really great lawyer, and he's letting me know, like, okay, this is possible, this is not, this is what this contract says, are you okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And a lot of times people just sign the contract because, 420 an hour, 450 an hour, $500 an hour, that's really expensive. And people can't afford that. They barely get that per page.
yeah.
That's usually someone's cover rate. That's the price of
Right.
the whole job. And so since then, I've been able to pay him in, well, before I was paying him in pieces. Thank you. now, now I'm able to pay him outright. But there are people like George Perez. George Perez has created, oh man, now I gotta wiki him, because he's created so many characters, but he has negotiated for the rights. So whenever there is a cartoon, whenever there is a comic, whenever there
Mhm.
is anything, he gets paid. As a matter of
Mhm.
fact, he will go to conventions and sign books for free because people liking his characters gets him paid.
Yep.
So he created, let's see, let's scroll through. I know he created Starfire. Let's see. I feel like I'm gonna um lose all of my nerd points for not knowing all of the
Ah,
characters. Sorry, down
I,
to 0.
I think you're fine. I forget names all the time.
Me
Yeah,
too. I'm like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
there. It's in there somewhere.
But he's an artist and a writer, so it's fantastic. And he just, I mean, he's been working on comics since the early 80s, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, New Teen Titans, all of that stuff. He got in a contract that he would be able to receive residuals for these things. And
Mhm.
you're not always going to be able to negotiate that. And it's going to be tough because there are a lot of people who will just draw it and be fine with it. But really saying, okay, well, I've created this thing. I think I deserve just a small flick of it because look at the owners of Superman.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, I mean, or their families, any of that stuff. It's this is your intellectual property, and that's why I think making my own story. I mean, because I look as an artist. If I've worked on Black Panther, it's not my job to own Black Panther. That has been created, and it's just for me to take my vision and apply it to what's there. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I took pieces of me and my culture, and when I created the covers for Black Panther and did some of the interiors, I included the Adinkra symbols, which are from Ghana, which is the same place that my name is from.
Gotcha.
And I read the synopsis of each issue, and I took the symbol that correlated with the story. So with T'Challa on the cover, um, he was away from Wakanda, and it got decimated by Namor. And when he comes back, there are these power vacuums. They're in civil war,
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
and so what I thought would be a fitting Adinkra symbol, which is basically like a sigil that represents a philosophy created by King Kofi, I believe sometime in the early 19, I want to say 1930s. I could be wrong. But ne ope se obedehene. He who wants to be king must first learn to serve.
Mm.
That is a symbol that
Deep.
I dedicated to the Black Panther. And with the Dora Milaje, they are the royal guard to Black Panther, but they're also supposed to be uh, celibate to make themselves available to potentially be queen.
Ah.
And that didn't exactly happen in the movie, but that's what they were uh, in the comic. That's what they were supposed to be. So violating that oath, two of them falling in love with each other, and then seeing that things are happening and women are being kidnapped and so on, and so they go against what they were supposed to do and do what they think is right, which is defend the people, even if it's against other royals and other uh, high positioned people. And then they kind of start a revolution. So the symbol that I put behind them basically translates into freedom comes with a cost.
Mm.
And um, the last character that I have on there is an inhuman named Zenzi, who is kind of like an empathy amplifier or an emotional
Ooh.
amplifier. So if you are feeling angry, even just a little bit, if you've ever felt any anger at all, she can draw that out to the point where it's deafening. So I thought Tambo Bemfre, or the enemy will stew in his own juice, was perfect for her. And so with each of the prints and things like that that I send out, or if someone buys World of Wakanda from me, I send them the little postcards with the symbol and showing them like, okay, this is what this means, and this is why I put this in here. So I love like little Easter eggs like that because there's so many layers to each story, and there's so many layers to a person's culture. It doesn't really matter where they're from. There is a story connected to them and a history, and these symbols and things that our ancestors have made to embed information to carry through the ages, they have meaning, and we can choose to carry them on or reinvent them and make new ones.
Right. I
That's
love
awesome.
Yeah. Oh, you just dropped so many jewels right there. Y'all.
I was like, oh, I've been talking for a long time.
I'm like enamored the whole time. I'm like, yes.
Like, keep doing it. We here with you.
Right. Oh, I like that shady mic. That's cool.
Thank you.
Oh, nice cross hatching. Nice cross hatching. Oh, she
Thank-
got
thank you.
fancy hair.
Yeah, she's got the fancy hair. I know that's right. It's looking good, Mike.
Thank you. I'm married and I have 3 girls, so I not only do I have to, but you know, I always want to try to represent females as much as I can.
Okay.
So, Afua, being a powerful woman in your in your life and in your field, what tips would you have for other women who are, in whether in comics or in life? Like, what tips would you have for women trying to build alliances with other women?
Well, number one, you're not in competition.
Mm-hmm.
Build alliances, and not everybody who shares skin is kin. It's sad to say, but get to know people, like connect, don't just network.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always about what they can do for you.
Right.
Like sometimes you'll just get to know someone, and I think that's really the best way to build a connection with someone, especially in this industry, because you never know who knows whom.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just better to just, if you have a bad experience with somebody, just kind of, unless it's very detrimental, like, okay, that person drinks and drives, don't get into the car with them. Ha, ha, ha.
Right.
These conventions be wild, y'all. No, but even then, just kind of keep it about the work, but also, get to know who someone is, because if you're going to build with them and you're going to like work with them potentially on something, you want to know who they are, because this work is hard. Even though it's one of those, oh, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Like, yeah, that's a lie. Because art is, you're problem solving. You have a vision in your mind and you're trying your best to resolve it in proportions, in an angle, in color that will evoke the most amount of emotions that's accurate to what it is that you're feeling and you're trying to communicate. So that's hard. Sorry. Like, you constantly have to sharpen your skills. You're constantly learning new techniques. You're constantly improving. You're constantly working on hands. You're constantly doing anatomy. You're doing all these things. Don't make things harder for yourself by making enemies needlessly. And you make enemies when there's a miscommunication, and you can avoid communication by listening.
Right.
So not only listening, because people talk and talk can be cheap, but how they behave. Observe, just listen and observe, and see how people move and see how people act, and just choose your alliances wisely. And you might find friendships in unexpected places. And I've met so many different kinds of people in the comic industry, and I gotta say, a lot of them are really cool. It's actually nice to know that there are a lot of really cool people. Some people are quirky and weird, but it's comics, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
And you know what? Don't let yourself be limited by other people's doubts.
Yes. Preach on it. Say it again.
Don't let, because, okay, I got a chance to work with Melvin Van Peebles. Melvin Van Peebles is the father of Mario Van Peebles, who was like an action star in the 90s. Melvin was a World War II pilot. He was the first black stock trader. He created a film. He became knighted. He won all of these awards. He won a Grammy, he won an Emmy, he just won all these crazy awards. And he just taught himself things. He's like, I'm going to teach myself French. I'm going to teach myself how to use a camera. I'm going to teach myself film. I'm going to teach myself music. And I'm going to write a soundtrack. And I'm going to give it to this local band called Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay. Did anybody ever tell you to just choose one thing and just be good at that? Because I get told that all the time.
Yes, I was told that.
Quite a bit. And he says, well, whatever it is that you decide to do it well. Just do it well. And really, the only people who are saying that who are ones who are saying, how dare you try? If it were walking and talking on the phone, they wouldn't say that to you, would they? But you have the same 24 hours in the day. It's your choice to choose how you spend it.
Yes.
And if you're going to be good at these things, guess what? You're not going to be going out and partying. You're going to have half the time that everybody else has, but you'll have twice the wisdom. So what are you going to do? He's like, I could have gone out. I could have done this. I could have done that. And sometimes I did those things. It's nice to celebrate. It's nice to get out. It's like, but I would make a list. I would make a list every day of those things that I want, things that I need, things that I dream about. And the things that I need first, like I need some new socks. I was like, okay, fair. And the things that I want a better computer so I can get this work done. But I got to get past what I need first in order to get to that want list. And the things that I dream about, having a whole studio. But once you start knocking those things off the list and making it real, the path from need to dream becoming having gets shorter and shorter because you know where you're going. If it's just this ambiguous thing, you're never going to get to it because you don't know where your GPS is taking you. You don't know if you're there yet. So for artists who want to do two things at once, dedicate those hours. Go in the direction of what's uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable drawing big, bubbly muscles, well, guess what? Go online, watch some UFC, and start sketching. If you feel like something is something that you've always wanted to do and you keep talking about it, but you don't do it, put it someplace where you can see it. Just put it in an area that is in your line of sight all the time. And that constant reminder, you'll start to act on it. Start making that roadmap to what it is that you want. And then you can kind of start wanting new things. And be okay with criticism, but trust your vision. You're making something from your heart. Nobody is inside your head. And even though there are thousands of artists who draw really, really well, what you make is valuable. There may be something that you have to say and your experience and your heart and the way you say it that touches someone that somebody else won't get to. Yes, there are, fantastic, beautiful pieces out there everywhere, but they can't draw all the things and they don't tell all the stories and they're not you. So who you are, what you have to say, what's important to you may also be important to somebody else. So value that, give it time, give yourself time, and be patient with yourself. And most importantly, try to have fun.
Yes. That's you dropped so many nuggets tonight. Like I feel like this is I got so much more out of this episode than I was even expecting, which is like hard because like I already thought that this was going to be amazing, but like you took it up another notch, and I'm so grateful that we got to have some time with you to get to know you and pick your brain about all the wonderful things that you're doing, because me and Mike are like huge fans of you. And hopefully in a couple of months you'll see more about why. We got like a project that we're working on, and it's inspired by some of the work that you did. So
oh my God.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah.
Yeah, we're having fun. We just, it's trying to carve out the time to do it. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to show you that and see what you actually think of it.
Yeah, that would be dope, right?
Like Moana is crazy detail oriented, and I just love to draw kick-ass women. And like we've just been working on this thing with our friend Lori Foster as well, and they are just incredible, like just with the insight that they give me. And they catch me and like, hey Mike, I know you didn't mean to do this, but you kind of got to think about this when you're drawing this type of female or this type of body type or anything like that, stuff that I wouldn't even notice, that I don't even think is a thing, they bring to my attention. And like we're just putting a lot of work on it, and it's a big passion project that I'm enjoying.
Oh, yay. That's so exciting. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I'm excited already.
Yes.
Just the
Yes.
fact that you made it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we don't want to take too much more of your time. Tell us where they can follow you. Let me drop the link for the campaign so they can support Aquarius Boogamer. Guys, you're not going to be disappointed. Like, I mean, come on, listen to what this lady said for free. Go support.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't express as much as how much I agree with Moana, that you just dropped so many nuggets on this episode, and it was just a pleasure and an honor to sit here and conversate with you while I freaking sketched a mermaid. So it's great.
Mermaid, by the way.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
incredible. I love it. I have a group on Facebook called Dr. Fu's Lab, and
Ooh.
I really miss, being back in New York and just hanging out at a Starbucks with a bunch of my friends, and like we pass around our sketchbooks and we critique each other's work, and just being around other artists while drawing. I think that's something that really helps someone grow. But also just having a platform where someone can post, and if they want critique, they could have it, or if they just want a place to share, they can go. So it's called Dr. Fu's Lab, DOCTAFOO, Fu's
Okay.
Lab. But you can visit my website, afuarichardson.com. That's A, F as in Frank, U-A, Richardson.com. I'm also on Instagram at Instagram.com/Dr. Fu, DOCTAFOO. I am on Twitter and Facebook as well under my name, Afua Richardson. Thank you so
This
much.
was you made me so happy. Like this was so much fun. And I know Mike is just as stoked about this. Like, yeah.
I'm just trying to contain it right now.
Maybe.
Oh man, I'm talking too much. I'm waxing poetic over here.
Yes. So if you guys are watching now and you missed what we said at the beginning, if you back Afua's campaign and the Moana Nui podcast, which is ending tomorrow, you will get this beautiful piece that Mike just created. Mike, you want to put it back up on the screen?
Oh yeah, I can.
Which is so much fun. So be sure to follow Afua, check out her work. Check out the Moana Nui podcast for 24 hours, and definitely also want to check out Chat and Draw, which is Mike's show. And basically you guys got a bonus special episode right here, right now, impromptu. You didn't even know.
Right.
But yes, let me let's see. Let's make that bigger. There you go. Look at that. That's so pretty.
So awesome. Are you working in Clip Studio?
Procreate.
Wow, that's cool.
Thank you very much. That is thank you to hear that from you.
Right. All righty, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to Chat and Draw on YouTube, Twitch. Where else you got? Facebook. Subscribe to Moana Nui on YouTube, and soon to be on Podbean when we launch early in January with season 1. You get all the episodes. Got a dope USB that's gonna have all the content on it. I mean, $29, and there's just so many things that's gonna be on there, including this. What?
Moana just Netflix, y'all. Y'all don't even know. She's dropping all her episodes in one day. she's the first podcast binge streamer in the history of podcasts.
That's right. You want to talk to some Indigenous creators, see some Indigenous art right here. We got it for you. Like, that's what's up. This is turning out like even better than like my initial vision, which is I'm sure you guys can relate to, right? Like I thought it was gonna be this, but it's growing and morphing and evolving, and I just love it. So again, thank you so much, Afua. If you have any last words.
Create boldly, love fiercely.
I love it. Yes. Words from the queen. Take it, internalize it, apply it. Y'all got this. All right, Mike, last words.
Yo, my night was better than y'all's night because I kicked it with these queens out here. All right. So I think it's awesome to draw for you and be on here and ask you questions and listen to your experience, listen to your advice. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Like I told my wife, as soon as this came on, put this on so my daughters can see it, to see a woman of color that is out here kicking ass in the industry, doing her craft, following her passions. So much respect to you for that.
Oh man, thank you. So much love, man.
All righty, guys. Well, mahalo nui for supporting Moana Nui. Go out and check out those Kickstarters. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Be kind to each other. Wear your masks. And happy holidays.